Hey, Star Wars fans and Rule the Galaxy fans. Welcome to another week of Rule the Galaxy podcast. As you can tell, tonight, Joe is not hosting the show. It's me, D Doc, as you guys know me, or Dave Doc. So, yeah, been a fun week for me. Had a lot of kids getting injured in the house today.
Oh,
We had a Peloton incident in the house today. So
the kids are doing a Peloton?
one was on one side and was turning the bike uh, pedal, and another kid got hit in the face with it. So, yeah, we got a
Did
little
the baby
on.
get hit in the face? The baby got hit? Oh.
She was okay, but she got a little scratch, and it was definitely a scare. So, you know.
And who got blamed for that? I'm sure when mom got home, who got blamed for that?
Little Doc Jr. Well, oh no, she was there. It happened while we were
okay.
there. It was like
Okay.
it was just one of those freak incidents. You know what I mean? It was a good lesson. It was a good lesson in listening for our little guy. And you know what it is it's like you have multiple kids in one area together. One of them's most likely going to get hurt. That's what happens. So
yeah, they weed out the weakest.
Exactly. Yeah. So crazy day here, but I'm here. We're here. It's Rule the Galaxy podcast. I'm going to wrap it around the horn tonight. We've got Alfie on. Alfie, it's been a couple weeks for you. I know you had something going on with your voice and everything. It's good to have you back. How are you doing?
Thank you. It's good to be back. Yeah, I'm feeling a lot better. My voice is back. I recovered from whatever tropical disease I got at the Great Wolf Lodge there in Cincinnati. Took a few weeks, but I'm doing a lot better.
So I'm hearing I should stay away from the Great Wolf Lodge in Cincinnati.
It wasn't kind to me, but no one else in the family got sick. So Go at your own risk.
That feels like it was a long time ago, actually, because I was going to Busch Gardens in Williamsburg, and you were going to Great Wolf Lodge, and yeah, that's a long recovery. So
it's probably been like a month.
That is crazy. You're not supposed to drink the water in the water park, Alfie. Come on.
Oh, that's just so gross to think about.
It's chlorinated, you know, it's clean. Brent, what's going on? How are you?
I'm doing well. Day one of starting back working out at 5 a.m. So the 4 o'clock wake up was not fun because school is in day 3 for teachers, but no, day 4 for teachers, but day 3 for students.
That is crazy. Terrible. So you're back at school teaching already.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
See, that just gets me uncomfortable every time. Like, I don't think I'll ever get over school year starting again because it feels like I need to go back. That's like, I don't know. I got in trouble a little bit in school. I wasn't bad, but I just had my fun, I'll say. So
you just make sure you have your blue sleeve paper.
Yeah, my blue sleeve. Yeah, there was some jokes on on Twitter about that blue sleeve comment. Willie Harms got me on Twitter.
Oh yeah, I mean, I love it. I love the vulnerability of D-Doc. Yep, but other than that, yeah. So getting ready for Gen Con, and I was doing Toy Time, but I don't want to stop the I won't do this right now. I'll wait for the introductions to be over so we can do Toy Time.
Yes.
I'll try to show you the stuff that I redesigned my hobby room because I was shamed into changing my background from Scott Rifen. So so here's a new background for you.
All right. I love it. Hopefully
it passes the muster.
Exactly. And I mean, our guest that we have on can tell you if you're doing a good job or not, because he's definitely into the arts and creating things. Tonight, we have Rick Prince on. This is his second time on the podcast. I know you guys had met him at the ICCC, not this previous year, but the year before.
That's
Rick,
right.
What's going on? How are you doing tonight?
Greetings, gentlemen. Thank you for having me on the Rule the Galaxy podcast. Glad to be back.
Yeah.
Round 2. Fight.
Exactly. I love it. Yeah.
I had to go E-Honda on that.
I was just saying before the show, I think it was like hardcore Stranger Things season the last time we had you on. So it was probably like almost exactly a year ago. I think it was a year ago that season
Very
4
close.
was running. Yeah.
Yeah, we were very close to the anniversary of the first Rule the Galaxy with yours truly, man. And it was a lot of fun, and looking forward to this one. Sorry we missed you all last week. I was on the road traveling for the Scared City Presents Hi-Ya Paranormal and Horror Con with my buddy Santiago Cirillo from The Walking Dead. And that was a hustle to get to the hotel and try to line up the logistics. So I appreciate all of your patience with sometimes we have that road life. So
Absolutely.
yeah, thank you all
No,
for
that's
catching
awesome.
it this week and try to get it out to everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Star
that's
Wars
what,
kind of day.
yeah, Joe was Joe had on our last episode, he had checked and saw that you had said that you were able to go on like right at the end of the episode, and Joe was like, oh my god, Rick said he could have went on. And it was funny because when I shared our stream, I saw you had commented hello there, and I was like, maybe he can be on. I was like, should I talk to Joe? It was like probably about halfway through that I saw it though. So it was like,
I had just pulled into the hotel and it was just completely unflattering in every way. So, it was just like not even a place to even lay your phone up against, just doing the best I could on the road. So the force aligned, and this week we're a lot better. Everybody's got better backgrounds. So thumbs up on your background, man. It looks great.
exactly, yeah.
I mean, I just wanted to make sure that I got in that I was shamed by Scott Rifen into.
Yeah, so Rick, for anyone who hasn't heard you before, I think my gate is up really high actually. For anyone who hasn't been on with you, hasn't heard you on here before, why don't you give people a rundown of everything you've done? I mean, we know you just were featured in the Journey to the Dark Side short on YouTube, which we're going to get into on there. But why don't you
Yes.
tell everybody a little bit about what you do, refresh everybody's minds.
Well, I'm a kid who grew up loving special effects. I wound up getting a career in it. That led to being on Face Off season 5, the makeup special effects reality show. If you all remember that, it ran 13 seasons on the Sci-Fi Channel. And that got me the exposure to a local group of wonderful people here in Nashville, Tennessee, where I still am currently. For the time being, we're on the move. We're beach bound here. So, but that got me a movie deal. And I wrote, produced, and directed my first film, which was Loa All Saints Eve. All these are available pretty much anywhere on Amazon or Hulu, something like that. The second one, they wanted to go right away, and I saw my buddy Rashad was trying to launch his film titled Inuati at the time. I said, hey, can we fold this in and get a pay it forward opportunity here? Can Rashad direct, and I'll write and produce, and we'll support him, and he can direct the movie just like I got a chance to. He won season 6. I was just on season 5. So yeah, let's bring another thoroughbred in the stable, and Rashad directed. The third film was Puppet Master, The Littlest Reich, which was the 13th in the Puppet Master series. That was a franchise favorite from high school. I love that. And then that led to just more and more exposure, traveling around all over the planet, really, from China to Ecuador to anywhere, just mostly as a makeup representative, but that has now transitioned into the writing, producing, and directing. And we've got another couple of films on deck. So,
Dude, that is awesome to hear.
That's the quick rundown.
And it's a lot. I mean, and of course, also, as we can see in the background, you have some association with Darth Maul as well, correct?
That is true. Anytime Ray Park's not around, you know what I mean? I fill in as part of the 501st. Just got my new merch. Let me show that off real quick. Just got my new. There he is.
That is freaking awesome.
The new, what is it, Sith Lord detachment. So just got my new swag in. But I joined the 501st along the way because I was already linking up with the group kind of secondarily. We would show up at the same events, me as a celebrity or whatever, or just there to help out. Here in Nashville, there's just a local community of people that are trying to do good things, bad guys doing good, as the moniker goes. So I wound up trying to submit. I initially submitted as Cyborg Darth Maul. I had the stilts on and everything. I was like, I'll come in, just bang out a whole new character and kind of set the bar. And they were like, you did that wrong. So it was so much work. I was just like, you know what? And to perform in, if you're not familiar with digigrade stilts, it's a complicated ride. They've got a new foot base that makes it easier for you to stand still now. It was always a kind of teeter-totter little dance with your feet. You couldn't just stand still. You would you just fall over. So yeah, I joined the 501st, and it's been Star Wars ever since. And then that led to doing more things to represent that. This is my recent sculpture of my Darth Maul with the Fourth Seal Studio eyes in there. And
Damn,
just a new
I
bust.
saw those eyes from the side. They look awesome, actually.
That's part of what inspired me to do the sculpture, man. That as a fan, I just see what they're making. I was like, those eyes are wicked. You know, they'd be great in a bust, because normally you lose a little luster in the eyes on some of the prop things because they're hand painted. And even if you do an excellent job, unless you do back painting on plastic or glass, you don't get that luster, that shine. And Fourth Seal added the painting on foil to these, so it catches any light in the room and just reflects it right back at you.
That is crazy. Now, Brent, do you think you can paint glass eyes? Do you think you're at that level yet with your painting skills?
No, my painting skills are crap. Like
your
guys,
Ewoks were looking good.
I think they're pretty good.
I think you're a
mean,
fine painter. I've seen the work so far.
It's okay, but
Practice
like,
makes perfect, man.
Right,
That's how we
but
get
so
there.
Alfie says that I do pretty good, but he had a mythosaur about this big, probably 3 inches in size, skull 3D printed, that I basically had to slap 3 colors on and do like a different couple washes to make it look like I did the bone look. So I did it with like highlight. I mean, I highlighted it, but it's essentially 3 different colors.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like it, but to give it
That's-
that variety. It looks like he might be getting up to get it to show it
He's
off.
going to go grab it.
Yeah.
I also did
highlight, low light.
Yeah, a
Based
little
on-
bit, trying to
You're-
get
you're
like,
good.
the shades, trying to get the shades in there. Like, I mean, I've gotten into this over the last 3 years because of my Star Wars nerddom. While he's doing that, I'll go ahead and get into my Star Wars nerddom. But I'm gonna ask one question before that. So I recorded every episode of Face Off, and I just want to know from a person who was on that show, how intense are those?
There's a mythosaur.
Oh, nice.
See, look at awesome.
And check out he painted this for me. This is the Boba Fett film.
Hang on, let me go on and get in tight.
Absolute banger.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I had fun with that one too.
yeah. See, you get some good wash in there.
Yeah,
that one-
that was fun to
Yeah.
put the wash
Turned
in.
out
I got some dirt in the corners, like.
Yeah,
But
great.
anyways, like,
Great job.
but so
Yeah,
how
Brent.
Brown it up.
How intense is the actual competition for like that? The one, whatever the main competition for a couple days. How intense is that 2 days or whatever 3 days of work?
It's fairly unprecedented. It's
Okay.
definitely not standard in the industry because you're on active filming time. So it's as though you're just filming on set, but you're not just acting. You're trying to get your job done while everybody watches. And normally these are 3 week, 6 weeks, depending on what the contract is, or for music videos, a week, but at least a week. So.
Right. Like you're getting 24 hours, 36
24
hours.
including logistics, because it's not all done in the same place. So there's company moves where everybody will hop into a van. You can't talk, and you all hop into a silent van ride. And you go across Burbank and go to a different place to do the judging, and so do all your
do the
characters.
soundstage? So like
Oh,
the
yeah.
soundstage, so the workspace and the soundstage
Yeah, the
aren't
judging-
necessarily in the same spot.
Judging areas across town from the makeup studio where we do all the lab work.
Okay, so now
And the clock is the clock. So everything is what they present on the show, except for maybe a little just what they focus on, tilting the scale on drama for just being interesting.
Right, but so like as far as the time, as far as the challenge, as far like there's no pausing of that for like
That's
lunch.
what it
there's
is.
no-
Now,
like-
we do have a lunch break, so they'll pause the clock because that's work. You can't be expected.
Sure.
You're just
Okay,
getting
I was-
penalized.
okay. I was
So
curious
yeah,
about that.
the clock stops for that, and
But-
we all have everybody, cast and crew. So we all take our lunch break, and it was always we're in California, so it's what's for chicken. Because there's no reason to ask what was for lunch. It was always chicken of some sort. But when you go out, you'd have your break. Everybody, because a lot of it's union stuff, especially relevant to what's going on right now. So yeah, you can take your break. We don't get the 15. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's a regulated film shoot, and so you get your breaks that you need to. Restrooms and stuff are available. Refreshments, all that stuff is normal. But it's very intense. It's the most intense, depending on how your mindset is. If you're used to hustling and working in front of people, probably won't feel as heavy and make your heart race as much. But if you're not used to that, a lot of the kids are coming straight out of school. So this is kind of their first real makeups, even that wasn't their final. So except for on my season, you had the veterans, which had already been on that show before. So they had the advantage, at least on the outside looking in, of having been in the studio, knowing where the stuff is in the room. But they balanced that out the first thing, like, all right, we'll show you where everything is, because it's kind of, we've been here before. That's not fair. So the players leveled anything that was imbalanced. It was awesome. It was a great time. It was pretty hectic because you're just moving so fast, but it was awesome. It changed my life.
So that was the next question. Like, you always hear. So I'm addicted to competition shows, right? So when I found that one, it was amazing. Competition, like, because it's amazing what under the pressure and the creativity. I guess this is where I knew that I was a creative at heart. I will also say on this show, I'm a Project Runway fan for the exact same reason that I loved Face Off, right? Because I don't care if it's a dress, but to go from a sheet of fabric into something that looks like that in 24 hours or 48 hours of work is, to me, is like, that's amazing. Same thing with you guys. But anytime somebody gets removed, they don't win the competition. They always say that, like, this was the greatest experience of my life. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about the craft. Do you feel that is true?
I think most everybody, if they're really being honest, has a very high bar set from that experience on their kind of life experience, because it's unique, if nothing else. And it does, with the time, it drives you to do something. And if you can even get halfway close, that's so much faster than you normally do. So if you pull off a halfway decent makeup on Face Off, then under normal circumstances, you're probably really good. Because you've been, one arm's tied behind your back and you're having to go like super fast. It's tough. You have everything that you need except time. And, when you spin that wheel around, that quality wheel, the other two are going to suffer because you don't have the time that you need. But you do have the time that you need for television. And that's what they did. They kept compressing it down until there was failure. And then they put the mark just above that. And we all rose to meet it. So they did the best they could. And the production team, just everybody, from the casting to the actual production to the little bit of follow-up that there was after, was all just top notch. And there's always at all the conventions, there's always the questions, hey, are you going to go again? And it was 13 seasons. And there's been a lot of conversation now when things go dormant, when things pick back up again after things get resolved. And I believe that they will. That would be a thing that would be fresh again now with a bit of a break. And there's a lot of things that you could still have done. We were always wanting to see, and part of why we started making our movies is that we wanted to see those things that we made in something afterward, but they own, Universal, NBC or whatever owns all the IP stuff related to those images. But at the same time, they were really free about that. I think one or two of the people used those things and made movies with them, and everything seems cool. And that's awesome to have that freedom to help keep that going, because ultimately it all goes back. More people will watch the show, like you have it all. And it's a family show, like a Project Runway, where people are taking just 2 jars of something or a big roll of fabric. And by the end of their ability, you have something that wasn't before. And I think that's just fantastic.
So is prop, like, so what part of the costuming do you get the biggest kick out of? Is it the makeup? Is it the prop? Is it the costume? What part really is like your creative juices that get you going? Like, where do you dive in the most?
Well, I think that's part of what's led me to the career that I'm following the most now, which is the culmination of all those put together. Like when you get the full costume, the full look, especially with the creature inside. If you guys saw the video of James Mez Banks as the Demogorgon on stage with the head going and everything, that being on stage with it going live in front of people at that point, that's where I wanted to be. So that directing and getting all the fabric, because this costume over here beside me was all handmade by Sherry DiGiovanna, the costume designer on both of my films. And watching her do her work is just as inspiring as anything that I might watch or listen to or something, you know, because it's the same like the Project Runway. You're like, it's another professional at the top of their game delivering, you know, these are high linen, all leather, like, because that's how I wanted to enter. Even though I didn't get the cyborg Darth Maul that I wanted, I did enter and was certified level 3. Like, I was like, I got to at least come in strong. You know what I mean? Just for fun, because I shouldn't come in at an entry level. I've got a lot of years under my belt, and I also try to walk off the screen. That's part of it. So that part, the end result of seeing everything when you get your last looks, that part, that's my favorite part. It's the same if you quantify it to film. It's everything between action and cut. As guys from before. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny because like prop making to me was pretty much foreign, honestly. It's like I remember it was 4 years ago. I switched to working nights and was staying home with my kids. Started watching YouTube during their nap times. That was like my time, was like put the kids down for nap, throw YouTube on the TV. And I discovered Tested by Adam Savage. And then I'm like, holy crap. Yeah. I'm like, holy crap, he's a prop maker. I'm like, I know he did Mythbusters and everything, but then I realized like he was working on like, you know, props and everything. And then I'm like, oh my God, he did Star Wars. Like he did stuff in the prequels. I think exclusively Attack of the Clones, I think he worked the most on, if I'm not mistaken. But then I started following cosplayers who like were making their own things. Like this one guy cosplayed Chris from Australia. Big fan of his. And it's like, I don't know. It's this whole world where it's kind of like I work in the trades, and then I'm like, hold on a second. I'm like, there's guys who are nerds who take these skills from the trades and put it into making these, you know, costumes and props and everything. And the props, it's like these guys are using all the tools that I would use in like, you know, a wood shop or whatever. It's like, I don't know. It was like a total new world to me. It's like I've messed around and made some little props. Look at that.
So for the game, I make the terrain, right? So what you have is you have a funnel, like a funnel for a car that I have wrapped rope around with hot glue. And then this is a Quaker Oats container. So I cut the Quaker Oats container. And then if you look, it looks like wood, but that's actually a styrofoam plate. And if you take a styrofoam paper plate and you take a metal wire and go across it, it cuts in the grooves. So you have wood grooves and wood, and then you just highlight it and dry brush it and give it a look to where now I have, it could be a Kashyyyk cut. I use this for Sorgan, which is the Mandalorian season 2 Blue Krill planet. So I use this as a hut for the Blue Krill planet.
Nice. And this is with all of your scale figures? That
this is for the game. So this is for the game. And
show everybody those, because those are I was captivated earlier. Those are awesome.
I'll pull this out too because it's toy time. So this is a poster tube, right? So this is a poster tube with some hot glue on it to give it the ribs, some tissue paper, and then just dry brushed up to look like a Kashyyyk tree.
Very nice.
Right, and then there's some peak foam at the bottom to give it like roots. So peak foam stuck on the side and all painted up. So then I will show some people, like the newest things that they've released are Ewoks. So I was showing them, I'll show you my Wicket. Wicket's headdress is a little dark. But so if you're on YouTube, sorry for those people that aren't there. So there's my Wicket. That I mean, I literally just finished him at about 8:30 this evening. I threw a couple dry brush strokes onto it to give him like the white belly and the white face.
I have a question for you then. When you're
Yeah.
painting these, do you have like big, because I put on my spectacles to get all up close while I'm looking, because all the screens are even smaller on my phone. I'm like, I need a magnifying glass for
Yeah.
this at this point. Do you have like a big magnifier or
I do,
something?
but I don't use it because I haven't gotten used. I'm worried about like you have
The
to get used. I
perception-
feel like
totally.
because of refraction and reflection, right? Like I feel like it's gonna make it worse because I'm not used to it.
Sure.
So and people get intimidated by it, but it's really just. I mean, I probably slap like 5 strokes on one of these Ewoks.
That's
There
what I
you
have
go.
right here.
Yeah, I need to get one of those.
This was like my
It's coming.
father-in-law got it for me
Yeah.
for Christmas, and was
My
just
grandfather
like,
had one, and I understand completely why now.
So go ahead.
he was basically like, I don't know if you'll ever use this, but it seems like something you could use because I build little models too and try to paint those up as well, similar to Brent. But his are smaller than mine. You need nimble
Way
fingers
smaller,
for
right?
his.
Yeah,
So-
that's smaller than your fingertip, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, dude. So this one's the Ewok and the Wookiee. So the Wookiee is there. The Wookiee is actually one of the bigger models. And then
Does he have a sword?
He has, yeah, he's got a Kashyyyk blade on it and then a sword. I had somebody sculpted off of the internet on Etsy, and this is the Wookiee chief. And they put like a metal helmet onto it. It's harder to see because my ring light that I'm trying to use tonight is kind of washing it out for you guys.
I can see that helmet though. That's like Lord of the Rings
Mhm.
meets Star Wars. I love that.
Yeah. Or Planet of the Apes. There's like a Planet of the Apes vibe to that helmet.
Yeah.
Very much so. Yeah.
Yeah. But so
That scale is just, that blows my mind. I have to work in full scale. I don't have to, but I choose to work in full scale because I like it better. It's easier for me to get all the detail.
and then there's Tauntaun riders. So they're riding their Tauntauns.
Very
And
cool.
it's the game is crazy. So I'm in the process of making a Geonosis terrain, and so I had a bark speeder that I broke apart, and I'm gonna glue it on to put that into terrain for my Geonosis board to kind of give it some little life.
Between
I'm
that style of that speeder and some of the bikes from Destiny were my inspiration for the full scale hover bike that I built for the film Convergence. I don't know if you guys saw that along the way. It's on my Instagram if you guys want to take a look at that. But hover bikes are just, that particular design is like my favorite. I just love
that clone bark speeder one.
Yeah, that clone era. I love some of those drop ships. Just that
Mm-hmm.
design of those fighters on that era. Very cool.
Yeah, and so this is Rick, this is all part of a game called Star Wars Legion. It's actually it's like a 3-dimensional chess game where you create the terrain, you create the Star Wars world, and there's a tournament coming up, Gen Con, a big tournament in big tournament in just miniature board gaming and board gaming called Gen Con. It comes to Indianapolis, so next week is the big tournament that happens. I think there's going to be 64 players of this game, but when I say it's a big convention, there's probably like 10,000 people that come to it. So I'm going to be playing. Because the Ewoks just came out, I'm going to go ahead and throw some Ewoks at people. We got Princess Leia. This is one of the first ones that I painted, so she's kind of chipping off with her paint. But that's Leia. So yeah, they're about 1.5 inches tall. They come gray plastic, and then you can model them up. And paint them up to make them the way that you want to make them. So
That's how I wish they had done some of the hero clicks, if you remember those Marvel line.
but they're already
Super cool, but they were
painted,
already
right?
painted. Yeah. But we customized a bunch of those anyway back in the day. My cousin had some of those that he liked.
So
it's cool that you guys get into this stuff, like kind of almost secondarily. You mentioned YouTube videos and things that get you all into it. What got you into painting the little small scale figures?
So I will say that our buddy, the guy who runs this, Mr. Joe Molinaro, he was talking about running the podcast. We're family friends, know each other, kind of acquaintances, and he was talking about it. And then he mentioned during COVID, looking online, and he was getting into the Star Wars figure trading and collecting, and what these guys talk about, Toy Time. These guys get into the figure trading and collecting.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was searching it, I was searching like toys and figures, and when I did that, what came up was Star Wars Legion, and it kept coming up, and it was like one of those things. Was like, what the heck is this?
It's calling me.
Right, it was.
Speaks to me.
And then there was a promotional video from the company that was producing it at the time, or that designed it and made it, and it was a 3-dimensional scene. It was like train, like it's model train building, but it was like
Mhm.
that train set. It came from Luke. It was a picture from over Luke's head, looking up at an ATST with the indoor bunker set into a mountain. All of this modeled with these figures, and I'm like, what?
Yeah,
And
I got
then-
into the Infinity scale when all those came out, the pre-posed Disney
Yes.
game set.
Yeah.
And then I love the toy box line that they put out that were posable,
Mhm.
but then they just kind of fell off of some of my
Yeah.
favorite lines, man. Come on, Disney.
Those
Right.
are great. I mean, those were like,
They're so much fun. Like,
yeah.
here, I'll run you my, pardon the dust and stuff over here, but I've got my whole little line of Grievous in the side and the whole
love it.
crew over here. And then I've got the other guys from the other series over there collecting dust because I've been working in here. Sorry. But
Love
yeah, I love those figures, man. And if they've
Yeah.
got a new game that scale is neat too, because you can
Yeah.
do a lot with them. Was that a photograph that it was a promotional image?
It
or
was a
somebody
promotional
just
video. It was a
fan-made?
video.
Oh,
It was
cool.
a promo video from the company about the game, and they came
Nice.
in and they it was like a video, and they did the whole like pan tilt zoom over his head up into it looks like a scene. And when you get
Yeah.
down and you're playing the game, and part of the game is you have to have line of sight to shoot, right? Like, so this is also like when you're a kid, you threw dice or you threw something, like threw a rock at it, and if you fell down, that he was wounded, he put him back up, or those types of things.
Yes.
You, as a kid,
Yes.
like GI Joes or whatever, somebody created that into this game, and doing all that pan tilt zoom, and part of the game is you have to get it over the top of the head to see if you can see the enemy. And then when you do that, you're like, dude, this is kind of like a little model miniature set if you create the environment to make it look like a set. So there's like that immersive, like, I actually am moving little Star Wars guys around. Somebody said like at this tournament, there'll be 64 people playing. So there's going to be like 32 different table setups. They may repeat the same kind of Fallujah or the same kind of Star Wars terrain, but there'll be like 32 different movies going on at one time, right? Like, you might have
That sounds awesome.
You might have the Rebels going after the Empire. You might have Empire on Empire. You might have Ewoks fighting Ewoks. You might have Ewoks fighting droids, because all of the major factions are represented in it. So, I mean, the last couple of weeks, I feel like I've talked quite a bit about it, but
Well, it's
Now,
cool that you guys get into it from different angles. My buddy Tim O'Sullivan, who I mentioned in one of my posts kind of promoting the episode we got here, he's an Air Force veteran, just an incredible guy, just human being. But he's only like 4 years maybe deep into just starting at home with 3D printing and learning and doing and videos and reaching out to people. And it's like top of the game, like doing some just incredible stuff right now. If you get a chance, just check out what he's doing online. And that's some of the stuff that we're involved in on the side. I'm actually about to start on my Thorian character at full sculpt for a new character I've got, just standalone, your own personal take on a Star Wars, not a on-screen character, not canon in any way, but done
you're
properly might be able to walk on screen and become canon. Just saying.
You're talking about like the homeboy with
The Hammerhead,
Yeah. So what are you gonna?
day.
So here's another thing that I'm in the middle
What
of
up?
making.
Speaking of toys, yeah,
Yes.
what it do?
That's awesome.
That was one of my favorites as a kid.
I have a buddy that wants a Hoth themed board, so I made the Ion Cannon. Went to the
Nice.
dollar store and found a couple different guns, glued them together when you paint them up, and then this is going to be the Ion Cannon. It's in the beginning stages of it.
Very cool.
That's
Or the-
that's the best
Or
part
the,
about
or the nipple gun, if you want to call it that.
yes. That's the best part about like making that stuff is it's like I've made the lightsaber hilts out
Yeah.
of my plumbing parts, and it's like that was just a thing one day when it was like I was slow at work and I had a bunch. I actually have them right here. Actually, here's the one I made out of copper right here, and it was like this thing was like I just had all this stuff laying around, and I soldered all of this together and made this. It's got like a scratch cloth on it for
Mhm.
like the grip and everything, and I had some wires laying around, and yeah, like it, and I was just I love
looks
this
awesome.
thing. Like if I was a Jedi, like this would be the lightsaber I want. Although to fit 2 hands on it, it's a little bit wonky. I should have made this like 1 inch longer, and it would have been a better grip. But
Just got to get your golf grip.
exactly,
You know, lock
yeah.
those
Lock the
fingers
fingers.
Yeah.
But our boy only fights with one hand, so it works, D-Doc.
That's
There you
true.
go.
And I did do one. These are just straight up sink drainage parts. This is a dual lightsaber straight up out of. This is like where your bathroom sink would drain.
Oh
I
yeah.
had all these scraps laying there that these were never going to be used, and these are the nuts that tighten up to the bottom of them.
I mean,
It's
it's got
crazy.
it's got a Luke Skywalker-esque
Yeah, look how
Return of the
close
Jedi.
that is
Yeah.
to Maul's anyway. Like that's very similar.
Yeah, that was the
Just this
inspiration.
whole-
These were lights from elevator controls that were just
Mhm.
old. I pulled them out. They happened to snap right in. This is where your your sink pop up would be to like pop your little stopper up and down and put some lights in there and stuff. And I just threw some wires in it, and I was going to do more with this, and I was like, this is simple. I'm like, this is like almost like a High Republic style lightsaber hilt. So
Yeah, anything with a little shine on it. Yeah, it's either
Exactly.
Somebody wealthy, somebody like a Leia or a Palps, and or High Republic era, which is that stuff is super cool. That's what has me so like if you walk into Tim's basement, not basement, but the lower floor of his house or whatever, it might as well be you're in Lucasfilm, Skywalker Ranch or something. Like it's the characters are just there, because you're just fans like us. I've had a career, 20 something years now of working for the different companies in the industry, Universal, Disney, that kind of stuff, building the stuff, for clients, but I don't get to keep any of it. But when you're building for yourself, like you've done, that's your piece, and you're just super proud of it, and it's in your personal collection, your PC at the house. I've got my comics, and now I'm trying to add some personal things now at this point in my career where I have a little bit of time for things for me, maybe. But that's what I find so cool about a lot of you all that have picked this stuff up and are learning it through whatever means, and then what you're able to produce. It's incredible because it's taken people like me 20 years to develop it. And then there's this information wave that happened 10 years ago that now everybody at home can do special effects, or you're able to do cosplay stuff. And the people that are doing it and then making the videos are top notch. I follow quite a few people, Lightning Cosplay, Kaumi Cosplay. Like there's a couple of the ladies that are just making such high quality video. Some of them have their dudes in the background. They're all sculpting and helping and
Kamu
making-
cosplay.
yeah.
Kamu's amazing.
There's just a bunch of people out there just doing things. Tris Rex, my buddy, just making things on a gigantic scale. And these are people that have just learned at home. They're not professionally trained. They haven't worked for companies or done the things that, a lot wasn't available unless you did something like that as I came up through it. And now it's just, I wish I had that when I was a kid. Kind of.
Does that scare you for the industry? Does that intrigue
Nah,
you? Do you
I'm
think
so
that's a
far ahead of
boon
you
for the
kids.
industry?
Come on, bring it. I'll hire all of you. No, I need the talent. It's perfect for this time in my career. It's wonderful to see how awesome some of these things are. It's like imagining trying to compete with that cat that's out there with that drum guitar stuff.
Guitaro 5000. I
I'm
just
like,
found that
dude,
cat.
how do you even imagine to play that instrument that way? Or there's a drummer I follow on TikTok, Andre something, I can't remember. I'll put it in the link later on. Dude sitting there drinking coffee and just everything that you can, the most heavy, the fastest jazz, the most complicated, and it's light work to this dude. They just, because you grew up on heavier and heavier or faster and faster things. Any kid that grew up with Metallica was Pantera level if they put in the work. Any kid that grew up with Pantera became Meshuggah and Gojira, and the next heaviest that gets heavier and more complicated because that's what you grew up with. That's what you learn from. And it's already so complicated. It's mind blowing. So I love all these people that are coming up and learning. If they're going to compete, please, it's an open market. There's room for all of us at the top too. That's what's wrong with some of what's going on right now in the industry. There's plenty of room for everybody. It's not a competition. It's an expression.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what I need to get into that show, because honestly, that's a piece of content of yours that I haven't even watched yet, is this show that you guys are talking about on Sci-Fi. I have never watched
Face Off. Start
all-
at the beginning. It's awesome all the way through.
fantastic to watch. But
It's-
it's been off for probably about 5 years. Like it was, I
Mhm.
feel like it was 2 or 3 years before COVID is when they kind of, like, the last one that I remember seeing.
No,
Because
is
I
it
had
it ran for
season
13
long?
seasons. It's broken down. There are like usually about 16 competitors,
Yep.
and it's broken down episodic. It's on, like I said, most platforms, and it's that weekly
Yeah.
or showly elimination.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to go every time. Who's it going to be? And that sucks for all of us, because when you're competing, that's one thing, but then you all ride in the van back to the nice, beautiful mansion that they provided for us, which was, man, that was super, super nice.
Now, another question is, do you have
You're
to
all
leave the
together
van?
and you like each other. No, you couldn't leave. You couldn't talk with the outside world. Like, you're totally sequestered.
So even if you got kicked off week 2, you were still there?
Depending on how it was structured, that you
Okay.
would be removed from general population. Gen Pop, they're gonna take you out there.
They're
You know?
going to put you in a different. They're going to put
Yeah,
you in a
they'll take
less
you out the
big
yard,
mansion.
put you in solitary, and deal with you later. But no, it was all just pampered treatment. But there was a process for onboarding and out process, and you got to make sure everybody's okay, including psych. Like, there's people there looking out for you, because you just lost. Like, you okay, man? I don't want you to. You okay? You good? So there are people looking out for your mental health as well, and that's important. A lot of people look over all of that, because it is very stressful, depending on how you perceive it. And how I was a firefighter, veteran, and emergency donor or organ donor processor, so I've been around a little bit more high level things that are, as far as intensity and trauma or something like that. So cameras moving around, and I had been in production for a number of years, just making television commercials and things here locally, and had a business, so that was the main thing, is I got to put all my business on pause and go make PA rate on a show out of town. So you can't manage, you can't call, you can't keep your clients going. That was the biggest push for some of the older people that had studios or shops.
Interesting. Yeah. See, I love that. I love shows like that. Like, I'm a big, like, Forged in Fire fan, and
Oh, yeah.
that's why
Same here.
I need a plumbing competition where, like, you have like, you set up scenarios. Yeah, exactly.
Who can unclog the poopy toilet?
You
fast?
set up like
Hey.
4 fake bathrooms, and it's like they're the same problem is in each. You can't see your other contestants, and it's like, who can diagnose the problem, fix it the fastest, and have it done correctly. I feel like that would be a great
It would be. What's
homeowner
awesome,
show.
I was just about to say, there's this guy on TikTok that I follow and I was like, oh, that's you.
Yeah.
I was like, oh wait, I see a plumber in my feed, in my FYP, or in one of my. It's like, oh, that's you. Now that I look a little closer,
Yes.
so yeah, you have good content, man. Because it's
Thank you.
interesting to see what people go through in whatever your chosen field, because you can get to expert level in anything, and it takes somebody for everything. At this most recent con with Santiago Cirillo and the guys down in Arkansas, there was a lady who was a special needs person. There was another writer that was doing the book. There's all the artists. You can be a specialized person and deliver a game, impressive and captivating content from any field.
Absolutely.
That's how I lose the most time, I think, is watching. There's this guy on Instagram that I picked up that does an automotive paint job where he's grinding the metal first, and then he lays down a candy color, and then he lays down something over it, and then when you bring the light over it, you see all of the metal work shine through. And that's why I don't have any hair. It blew my hair right off. I was like, what is this? Because it's the same unique approach to the art, and whatever your chosen art is, art or not, science, math, teaching, whatever it is, care. It's impressive to watch people do their thing.
Absolutely. That's why I just always feel like I'm just trying to learn stuff like all the time now from that's why it's like, people will say like the internet can be bad, but it's like all of these examples and things we're talking about right now. It's like I didn't even know Alfie and Brent and Joe. I met them through listening to the podcast, and then I flew out to ICCC this year, which you were at ICCC this year too, right? We never ran into
I was there
you
both years.
actually.
No, I was there with my daughter just to support Adam and the Journey to the Dark Side premiere of Adam's short film that I got a chance to be a part of. So I was only there for the premiere. We stayed long enough to go through and shop, and we spent some money and got some cool stuff. But we watched the Star Wars Rebels panel right after us for sure, because we were already like my daughter was already sitting. I was like, save my seat because I want to be in the panel. I want to sit there and watch watch all these voice actors and hear what they, and some of them are veterans and some of them it was their first time. I was like, wow, because that's something that I get into on the side. I'm about to narrate one of Santi's books. So, and I did some ADR as Maul for the Journey to the Dark Side. So ICCC is here in Nashville. So it's a thing that it puts an in-person component to meeting all of you guys in the digital space. It's an event that, now that most of the restrictions are lifted and everything's safe again, that you're like, hey, I can see you in person. And so like the first year where we got our picture as, with me as Maul and you guys are there in booth and stuff where you're just trying to see what you can see. The next time it was, I'm just coming at the next time. It's going to be, hey, let's sit down. Let's hang out for a little while. That kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So it's a great way to bring that online together in the real world.
So I just want to share, you say everybody can be great at whatever they do. I really think that Alfie wires up bombs. Because every time he sends us pictures, there's nothing but circuit boards
They're
and wires.
not bombs.
He's working with some high-level electronic shit that's like,
Yes, I do.
Are you going to blow the world here? Like,
Yeah, the pictures that you send us actually
blow
scare
up the
me
world.
to look at sometimes.
Sometimes they
wires.
do blow up, but it's not on purpose.
So what do? You wiring electronics, LEDs?
Like PLCs, VFD drives, servo drives, things like that.
Nice.
I'm
we're doing more and more
industrial
animatronics.
electrical panels, things like that.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, that gets, if it's not on a battery level, Rick, don't mess with that because
Yeah. No, a lot of it is on the vaporized level.
What does that mean? Vaporized level.
it means if he touches it, he's going to vaporize him.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's a whole
There you
different placard on the
That
side
means
of
there's
the...
enough amps running through those machines to power.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Dangerous.
Yeah, on those panels, they have a picture of a guy touching it, and the next picture is like Thanos turning to dust.
the snap.
You know?
Yeah, totally. The snapping is real in some electrical situations, most certainly.
I love it. Well, while we brought up that Journey to the Dark Side topic, do you want to tell us what it was like filming that? Because all of us have watched that, short film, and you had an appearance in it as Darth Maul. So, like, how did you get into that? Did you know? Are you like mutual friends with the director? Did they reach out to you to play Maul in it? Like, how did everything pan out with that?
So I just want everybody to know. Let me take a little sip of my beverage here. Thanks to my daughter.
The galaxy.
Thanks to my daughter Taya for that. We're in no way affiliated, not sponsored, not removing ourselves from or distancing in any way. It's just how it works out, bro. So we met at the ICCC. You know what I mean? There's a lot that just kind of goes back to that. I was Maul there cosplaying because it was the first time I had just completed my Darth Maul for the 501st. So this was my first troop. Hey, I'm going out in public, first time representing the 501st officially this time instead of just being there with you guys. And I'm going to go sit in my seat at the Weird Al show. You guys go up on stage. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So it was my first official troop. So I'm out there as Maul, like the day we got our photo, just repping, doing my thing. And standing next to me, stepped right off the screen, acting in character the whole time, is Kylo Ren. I mean, it's Kylo Ren the whole time. Kids come up, bam, he's doing the all the posing, everything, delivering just top notch. And I've casted as the casting director the movies that we've worked on, so I like watching an actor work. I just like that. So that's how I met Adam. He was Kylo Ren. And shortly after that, he reached out and was like, hey, I'm doing this short film. Would you in any way be interested in reprising your role and putting on that red and black that you have to take off so painfully? It's all alcohol-based makeup. So it takes like 2.5 hours to put on. It takes about an hour of just washing your face off with alcohol. It's not my favorite thing to do. But I love it. Once I get about halfway in, I'm like, why am I doing this? And then once I get it right at the end, I'm like, that's why. You know what I mean? So I do love it, but it's a character I love to hate, which is good for channeling the energy once you're in character. So he was like, come out, let's shoot. We actually met today, as a matter of fact. Adam and I, I had a beverage at the Frothy Monkey here in Nashville, which is a great networking meeting place. There's a couple of them around town, just a coffee shop, sitting there talking Star Wars for an hour or two about the sequel. So we had so much fun making the first one, which is super indie level. I mean, it's really, the production is achievable by any person that can get to the most basic type of cameras you can get at the local shop or Walmart or something like that. Just wherever you can get the gear. But what he was able to do with it was blowing me away. I was like, these kids are working, and the acting was great. So it was, again, just watching really talented people just having fun doing what they do. And I get a chance to actually act as Maul. Usually I'm performing as Maul, which is a different thing. So I love being on both sides of the camera. I'm normally behind the camera watching actors, because actors are better at acting typically, unless I'm trying to act, in which case I get to be among them and try to do the best job I can. And that's where we were, just having a good time telling stories that fill the gap in between the sequel episodes. This is the content goes right along, so you can make a longer edit and cut these scenes in there if you wanted to.
Absolutely.
Which is awesome. He created all this stuff, and this young man is blowing me away. Just like super creative, just very thoughtful, just a professional. And if you need a Kylo Ren, man, or an actor, I just cast him today in a little short film that I'm working on coming out, just because he's just talented. So yeah, get behind the people. Everybody, Ricky, everybody that was in it is just the Vader is just a game Vader. It's just a lot of fun to be around people having fun. That's how you never work a day in your life.
Absolutely. Alfie or Brent, do you guys have any questions about the short film that we watched?
Yeah. What was the decision making behind the Sith Lords that were shown? Because I really got a kick out of that, especially the Darth Nihilus.
Nihilus is a big hit because you
pleasant surprise.
Deep cut, because it's not canon after the big decision. So you have to have read or played games or be off the beaten path content wise to even know about who Nihilus is. The choice is based on what's going on actively, and we're past spoiler alerts, so I'm not going to worry about that. So if you're understanding the tool that Snoke is, and then as the movies progressed, the implementation that's coming from Palpatine of all these different characters. If Snoke is a puppet and he's in Kylo's head with all these different voices all throughout, and ultimately all of them potentially are Palpatine, well, that opens up the door to everything Palpatine knows. And so the thought that's what was captured when I read the script. He was like, hey, you want to be in my Star Wars thing? And I've been asked that for a couple of things, and I've said yes to, I think, pretty much all of them. And this is the first one that actually panned out. And it was also very good. It's the second or third really good script that someone has written in that Star Wars universe. And related to the sequel trilogy is rare, because the fan base is still kind of split on that. It's a generational thing. I think maybe we all understand that the one you grew up with is probably the one you accept more, and you might reject another one that wasn't the one you grew up with. I like them all, so I'm not worried about that. I favor certain ones over the others, but the content and the world building is what I'm there for. So there's things to love in all of them. So this kid just wrote some stuff in the threads in between, and I was like, let's do it. So Nihilus was just one of those Easter egg kind of things, and there's more. You know, we talked about the sequel today that he's written, and it's good as well. And I think if you like the first Journey to the Dark Side, then you're gonna love the second part of it.
I love it. I love it. And I like that it's doing good numbers on YouTube and everything, and it's been pretty successful. You know, I think it was over 20,000 views or so on the work. So like, you know, it's exciting to see that stuff get appreciated and get viewed, because honestly, it's like you put something out on YouTube, you have no clue what it's going to do. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, you might get 200 views and it might be something great. You know what I mean? And it's just like, you don't know. So it's like,
or the one person that shares it that has the big following that is that tastemaker or something that blows your numbers out the roof and it becomes viral. That's the kind of thing, you know, if you guys watch Star Wars shorts on YouTube or whatever.
Yeah, I've watched some of them.
Yeah, like Maul cosplay and some of the other people that have their shorts. He's a fantastic Maul, like so, and a bunch of other characters too. But their short film that they made, Maul Apprentice, was just top notch, and they also released a making of. So at some point, the torch will pass, and if you're showing not only competency but the game recognizes game, man. So I'm excited to see people like those guys, Maul cosplay, making their content, Adam making his content, me being able to get a part of that. We're able to help him this time. My buddy Ryan Featherston is gonna DP the next one for us. So that's my man that we shot both of my features with. So he's agreed to try to help us out with this, and we're gonna have some fun and step up the level of production to feature film quality and see what Mr. Adam can do.
Absolutely, man.
Just
I'm
supporting our fellow artists, man. That's what we try to do, is lift each other up here, man.
Yeah, it was really, I really enjoyed the story. I'm like, I could not imagine if that was actually in the movie. I think the entire crowd would have collectively like shit themselves if that happened live, like in The Force Awakens, like that. I thought that storyline was really good, and I'm like, you know, that line that Rey says to him held weight. You know, you'll never be as good as Darth Vader, and it's like, you know, he walks away just like, did she really say that to me? Like that hit him right in his soft spot. You know, it was like, I thought it was great. I loved how his eyes turned too when he called.
Wasn't that a great effect?
Anakin. Yeah.
Oh man, and these guys are just doing it. Cameron and Adam and the team that they have are all just doing it out of their own homes, you know, much like all of you guys are, like Tim, like a bunch of these creators are doing. Tris, everybody's just doing the best they can with the assets they have. And so when I saw what he was able to deliver, and for you guys that haven't seen it, please go check it out on YouTube. Support Adam and what's going on. It's not for profit. It's just for sharing. It's Star Wars. It's Disney content. So just check it out. Like, support. Tell us what you love. Tell us what you hated. But tell us, because man, when his eyes go Sith, which is what happens for all those just listening, that's a scene you don't really see happen in Star Wars on screen very often, where your intensity cranks up to the point where your rage changes your eye color on screen. So that I saw a lot of people react to that. We actually talked about that today. And if you're talking about deep cuts, there's more of that stuff coming. The sequel is very cool. I'm talking about reprising my role here. So there's other characters. If you like Nihilus, you know, wait till you get a load of what Adam has in store. It's very cool to watch this thing get built, and to be a part of any of that on any level is just fun. So that's what we're doing, man. It's awesome. I love it. That's like your voiceover was excellent too for Maul, because I was like,
I had to listen to it 2 times because I was like, wait a second. I'm like, did they grab a clip from like Clone Wars there? Because I'm like, that sounds nice. Like, I'm not trying to hype you up too much here, but that was
dude.
nice.
I'm hearing the mic. I'm tracking, and I've got my headphones on. I've got everything ready, and I'm like, you will suffer as I. And I was like, and by the end of it, I got to the performance that I was listening to it and just making sure which one I was going to send to Adam, and I was like, uh-oh, I'm having fun now, okay. And that's why I love doing it, why I'm trying to narrate this book, because casting, you guys like Dragon Ball Z?
I watched it as a young
dude
boy.
I grew up on Dragon Ball Z. I love Dragon Ball Z just through and through. And my friend now, Sean Schimmel, Goku, the voice actor that I've grown up with my whole life, is on my phone. Every time he calls, it's Goku calling me on the phone. It's awesome. I love it. This is part of the business that I love, is that kind of inspiration from people just by their voice, and being able to get into character as Darth Maul, because he was voiced by a different person in episode 1 than Ray Park, so there's always this sharing. And then you got Sam Witwer, legend game, just to live up to. So I'm sitting here listening to Sam most of the time, and then referencing some episode 1. I space on the original actor that did the voiceover work there, but just being inspired by those people, and then not having the paint on, not having any of that, but being able to hear yourself grow into character on the mic is a fun stuff. You guys are doing all these podcasts and stuff, so you're in the editing booth listening to yourselves later. It can be a lot of fun, man. That's all I'm saying. It could be a lot of fun. And for the industry, man, it should always pay better. Everything, every job in the whole thing. Everybody, for a moment, just pause for the cause. Most people work an 8-hour day and are like, grueling. Most production people are burning 12-hour days. And it's ridiculous. And that's a standard. And you go home and you're waking up tired. You're driving dangerous because you're not rested. So what's going on with the strike is just to support your other fellow people out there working just as hard in a different job. So when you hear anything going on, it's like less than 1% from that top profit to change and make everybody's healthcare paid for. So just for the little soapbox moment there, just to help all of my people out, because there's a lot of us out here right now kind of on pause. So
Absolutely.
And you guys love the content. That's what it's all about, is making these stories, and bringing that stuff to life is work. It's a lot of work.
Speaking of, I'm fading fast. It was awesome talking to you. Thank you for answering the face-off stuff.
Most certainly.
Fantastic show. Peace out, everybody, from Rule the Galaxy. I'm out. Have a good one, guys.
School time, Brent.
Dude,
That's it.
Yeah, I got to today.
Different time zone too.
Give me about 2 weeks to get into shape. I'm just not back into shape yet. All right. Talk to you later, guys.
Nice talking
Bye,
with
Brent.
you, man.
Peter Serafinowicz was a voice actor in episode 1.
There
Darth
he
Maul.
is. Fantastic job.
Peter Serafinowicz.
Yes.
Yes.
Love it.
Visually, I recognize his face, and but getting to that name is one of those like, that's that iPhone. Pull it up. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, props to him. Yeah.
As you were saying though, Rick,
last
like I
we
really
reveal
like,
ourselves.
as you were saying, we all love the content and everything, and like that's the best part is like we do this podcast once a week. It's like we talk about Star Wars. Sometimes it's like we will start an episode and we'll think we know what we're going to talk about, and it's like even tonight with tonight's
It
episode,
never
we
works.
we just we start chopping it up, and it leads to where it leads. But it's all because of like love of movies and talking about all that stuff and everything. We all love it. So, I agree. I hope everything sorts itself out. I hope everyone finds, a common ground, as you said, and things get worked out, because this is like, it's our escape from, life and everything. It's like, that's why I have all this stuff behind me and everything. It's like the
Same.
Oh, this is another thing I built
Same
right
thing.
here. Actually,
That's cool.
I
I
built,
was eyeballing that. I was going to ask you, maybe when we got off. But yeah, man, is that something you built yourself?
yeah.
That's
This
awesome.
was a this was probably like a 6 to 8 hour build. Actually, I like grinded
Isn't that
this thing
amazing?
out.
Nice.
I
Knocking
saw
it
some
out.
stuff. Yeah, I saw some stuff on YouTube, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna do that for cheaper. I had a piece of scrap plywood, and pretty much all you had to do was make a ton of marks on the plywood and just get a hole saw and sit there with your hole saw and then get your jigsaw and connect all the holes. Which I was like, when I mapped everything out on this wood, I got totally sidetracked off what we were talking about. But when I mapped everything out on this wood, I was looking at it. I was just like, this might look really bad when I'm done with this. And I just started drilling all those holes, and it turned out good. And pretty much I saw a guy's video where he said, just make a box and paint the entire inside of it white. And I only have 2 LED strips on each side. Well, one on each side. All that light reflects off. This is white plastic drop cloth from Home Depot for like $5. That's the window on it.
Just plastic sheeting.
Yeah,
wow.
this is just
I would have thought
plastic
it was
sheeting.
like a plexi or something like that.
No, yeah, that's why my
Yeah.
daughter was down here one day and was like, "Is this a trash bag?"
Poke,
And I'm
poke.
like,
Yep.
"It kind of is." I'm like, "Don't push it too hard."
That's awesome. See, that's the kind of thing that you can get to on the ingenuity side that I've always appreciated. It's that inventive nature that is some of the most rewarding thing that you can have, is the success of an invention or thought process that worked out.
Yeah,
You're just like, yes, sweet. And you get to stand there and look at and be proud and just kind of geek out at your own stuff for a minute. That's okay too. You know, everybody that's out there kind of trying to sling your work, myself included, you know, we're our own worst critics, but at some point, man, take a step back and look at your work and be like, you know what? That's pretty cool, man.
yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, you don't really realize it kind of when you're in it. It's like you know all of your imperfections and everything. It's like I could do a bathroom remodel, and I could know that on one piece of tile, like it chipped when I was like scraping something off of it, and I might be the only one who knows that or whatever. It's like you said, everyone's their own critic. But that's one thing about the social media is it's like I created the page I created my page doing like tips and stuff like that, not having any thoughts that it would do anything. I just did it to make it easier to give people tips because I always had people ask me how to fix stuff. I'm like, I'm going to make videos that I can just send to them, so I'm not on the phone with them or
Yeah.
FaceTiming or like texting 30 times. I'm like, oh, you got a problem with your garbage disposal? Here's this one. There you go. And then it started getting views. I was like, oh man, actually, like, this could help a lot of people out. Like, I'll just keep doing this. Whatever.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. The content is good, man. Keep it up.
Appreciate it.
And what about you, Alfie? Like, which outside of your super dangerous, what's your favorite geek stuff that you got going on?
Oh man, for me, it's all about collecting Black Series. You know,
Nice.
I'm a big toy guy, so most of my
Yeah.
free time is spent. If I've got, you know, an extra 15 or 20 minutes, I'm stopping at a store somewhere looking.
Yeah, I've shifted over to comics from my toys, and I still have quite a few toys, but it wound up being like the monster wall, you know, because I like the 18-inch, you know, figures that were coming out for a while back in the 90s, and it wound up being a very kind of cumbersome collection to have. And then when I saw this is a DIY project that I was able to do online with just it's the stuff that holds up the exterior vinyl siding for your home.
Yes.
It's just a little J channel.
J channel.
Yeah, and I sprayed it all black, and it holds
Damn,
the
that's a
comics
great
perfect.
idea.
Oh, it's so cool. You can look that stuff up online. It's awesome, and it's easy to get in and out. Of course, I have to slot them all around because I've got the corner, and they all have to come out one way. But it's easy to swap out the content on the wall, which is something that I do like. And that kind of collecting, I'm like you. I'm like, there's a comic shop. My wife's like, all right, I'll drop you off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll circle around, do my thing, and come back.
Oh yeah, she knows if I'm, you know, late getting home from work. Well, where did you stop? Did they have anything? What'd you buy?
I've got into cleaning and preserving now because I'm an artist. I started in 2D and then I transitioned into 3D and then into the filmmaking medium in cinema. But I started as a 2D artist, and McFarlane was that was my hero when I was 15 or whatever, when I saw the the first. I think I saw his Batman first, and I was like, Batman's cape's alive. I was like, I knew it. Batman's cape's alive, but it's not. It's just the way he drew it. I was like that, and so since it wasn't, Spawn's cape sure was alive,
Yeah,
and I was like,
Spawn's
my
was.
man, he did it. Like that was part of what I wanted to see because of how cool the cape design was. So when he got a hold of Spider-Man, I'm in, all the way in, because Spidey has always been my favorite comic character. And rivaling Hellboy when Hellboy came up, because I'm a big Mignola fan. But that was just a thing I could appreciate. So I like being able to catch this artwork that might otherwise be lost to time, care for it, clean it. I like the grading process if it's one that's viable for getting graded, and then seeing how well a job you did at preserving this piece of artwork from Legends that a lot of which are gone now. So it's just a cool, different thing to collect. People are collecting VHS tapes now, which I never would have thought. But anything that becomes not a thing at some point and goes into legend, somebody, what was it we were talking about earlier, and somebody hadn't seen or didn't know what it was. It's that if you weren't a generation, Sinead O'Connor, yeah, rest in peace. But if you didn't, if you weren't around for that, you wouldn't know, and then that would become a collector's item.
Yeah, a neighbor of mine collects Laserdisc.
Yeah,
Dude,
Oh, man.
I did not
my
know.
buddy Bob Ziegler, he had all of the laser discs ever, I think.
I saw my shout out to this guy Ron Swan on TikTok, Instagram. He just has a garage where he collects just a bunch of old school stuff. Real cool guy, mutual follower. Me and him just like talk. Feel like I know him. I've never even had like a personal conversation with him, but I never saw Laserdisc until he popped one of those in, and I'm like, what the hell is this? I'm like, this is like a record meets
Giant
DVD.
CD. Like, check this out.
I'm like, what?
I can
Aztec
remember
reflecting
watching
plate, like-
Star Wars on Laserdisc when it came out. It was the
Yes.
coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life.
Bob, in our friend group, Bob Ziegler, he had his mom was super cool. They had like a pool or whatever. So we go to Bob's house, and they liked entertainment, and he had this big giant television and a laser disc, and we didn't know about it. And we showed up one night, and there's this black spot on the wall, and the thing started playing, and we were all like, oh, it was the first time in a lot of cases, Dark Crystal, things like that. The first time that you had ever even been able to make out some of the things that were going on because of the resolution. If you weren't in the theater when it happened, you're watching it on a VHS tape. And I could never tell what the things at the end of the Dark Crystal were. Half of the stuff in the thing was lost to darkness. The other stuff in the Dark Crystal was lost to brightness. And so he had the Laserdisc that fixed all that. And who would have thought that their collections now are very valuable if well taken care of. It's crazy. Just what the VHS tapes are going for. Just if it's still in the plastic. All right. So it gives me, a lot of fun and freedom with the things that I do collect when you're asked about what you came home with. Treasures. I came home with treasures.
yeah. That's what I only left. ICCC back to ICCC. I had to really pick and choose what I wanted to get there because it's just like everything you could imagine. I only got it's right over here, the episode 1 Qui-Gon, because it was that Black Series. It was those special Black Series figures they were doing with the episode 1 back plate on it and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I have Mace Windu already, and I really wanted Qui-Gon. I've wanted Qui-Gon Black Series for a while. Met a super nice guy, gave me a really good price on it. He told me, he was like, I don't have it on me today. He's like, I'll get it out of my truck for you tonight. I'll have it on the shelf for you tomorrow. And in my mind, I'm just like, there's no way this guy's going to remember it. I go back to his stand the next day. There he has it sitting right there. I'm just
nice.
like, damn. While
Take my money.
Yeah. This is like something randomly, though, that crossed my mind while we were on like video resolution conversation. Do you think we're almost like reaching the pinnacle as far as video resolution goes? Because like we're going to like 4K to 8K and everything. It's like I feel like a picture almost can't get better at this point. Like, I mean, they're starting to do these virtual reality. I saw the Apple virtual reality things that they're coming out with, but it's like, I don't know. I feel like we are reaching the peak as far as like cameras go. It's like insane to me, honestly, like how far we're going. I mean, I just got a new camera myself, and it's like this little digital camera, and it's like 4K video on it. It's just like crazy. It blows my mind. The last camera I had was a 35 millimeter film camera, because I would skateboard with my buddies and I couldn't afford the freaking digital one. So I went to a store and bought a 35 millimeter snap camera where I would just take all these pictures and go to CVS and see what I got. You know, those were the old days. But do you think
we
we're,
were
like,
the
reaching
kids
peak
that
of it?
yeah, we were the kids that 8mm was based on. Like that's where we grew up. Even I remember a little hand crank.
Yeah, the little hand crank.
Yeah, 8mm hand crank, and then there was like a friend of mine's dad had a 16, and then we got the Super 8, and that's, you know, the movie Super 8 that's kind of, we were those kids when we grew up. So to your specific question, I mean, the human eye is only able to process a certain amount of detail and information. Between that and your brain and how you actually are able to see with the cones and all that stuff, you guys want to TED Talk and look into how your eyes work, feel free to do that, but you can only process so much.
Yeah, I would
and
agree. Sorry to jump in. I apologize for that. I would say like 6 to 8 years ago, when the resolution really changed, it was like there was a period of time where I thought everything looked way off. In that high resolution,
that point,
like the backgrounds looked like it didn't move with the film right, and that
that's going to be
dimensionally
in your settings, which is something that absolutely.
But now, after
drives me
years of
insane.
seeing that, I don't necessarily see the picture that way anymore.
I can't. Anytime that pan and scan activity comes up, which is what it used to be called, which is them adjusting a letterbox frame for a 4:3 aspect ratio. So if I move over here, they're going to pan and scan to where I go in that frame to try to keep the focal subject in frame instead of just letting me go out of that box. They'll move that box over here with me. And that weird movement they have to do, I would always register. So it's one of those uncanny valley things. So I think the biggest evidence to your point, I was going to say, is when The Hobbit came out. And it's in 60 frames per second. And everybody's like, not everybody. Some people are okay with that. But it's like watching, that's perfect for sports or some other kind of, you need to see that detail. But when it's the difference in stop motion and go motion, it's the blur. Sometimes you need a blur on some of the things moving in the background. And if everything's super clear, which I think was what's happening in The Hobbit at that 60 frames per second or whatever, it was just off-putting. It was like watching daytime soaps.
Yep.
It just looked bad. Like, it's hard to understand how such a good movie didn't present the way that they had intended, because I know they're trying to make the best. Like, Peter Jackson's not trying to come with some sloppy stuff, but the way that it presented was unflattering to a lot of viewers. And so when I get a new television or whatever and I bring it home, there's a bunch of those enhancements that are preset into your television that do make regular network broadcast TV maybe look better, but you don't need it on a film that's already had its look captured. That's how it's supposed to. Just leave it alone and present it the way it was supposed to. If we're going to turn the brightness or something up for your room, maybe, okay, but adding that cinema look or whatever it is, it makes it look like Telemundo. Like, it's weird.
I call it the sitcom effect, honestly.
Yeah, totally.
Like
it is.
It makes a
flattens the room and everything just kind of looks off, cheap. Makes it look cheap. Born Identity or something. You're like, what? Why does this look terrible?
Yeah, I've changed people's TV settings at their houses if I've been there. Like my in-laws, I've been there at night and I'm like, hold on, we were watching a movie today and it looked like we were watching Friends. Like, this is supposed to look cinematic. Like, I'm changing these settings real quick because, like you said, it does automatically adjust. And it's like, dude, those are the things that, like, for me, it's like I'm watching it, I'm like, I can't take this. Can I change the TV settings on this real quick? This does not look right.
It's like, if we're gonna sit down for a couple of hours, it won't be through this.
Yeah.
And not to be that, if it's a group environment, I'm rolling with the crowd. I'm not trying to be the squeaky wheel, and I've probably already seen it.
Yeah.
But it's not my preferred way to do it. And if it's my control, objection, I'm going to change
Yeah.
this right now. Hang on for 1 second. Let me fix this for everybody in the room. But beyond that, I think we've got some other just very amazing things that are happening with people that are developing stuff like James Cameron, where they're trying to get those glasses off for the 3D presentation. And so there are still some new horizons, new territories to venture into with presentation. It's just dialing in that how you see it. Have you guys seen anything on the big sphere that's in Vegas now?
Yes.
I'd say that kind of setup. Back in the day, there was like an Omnimax theater that was around here, between here and Atlanta. I can't remember where the Omnimax theater was, but it's like an IMAX, and it may have been related to like Huntsville Space Center or something. But I remember watching a movie that presented around to my periphery. So you're watching a screen that comes around you like that sphere is going to be doing. So there are new ways to have content that continue to make you feel more immersed in that environment. And I would love to see. I accidentally. So this is a funny story I get to tell about my father who just passed the weekend before last. I took him to our last film was the Ford versus Ferrari. My dad loved cars, man. Russ Prince. He was all about race. He did that back in the day. He was muscle cars, jumping over Coke bottles. If you can get the $20 off of the dashboard, kind of muscle car. That's what he grew up with. Which is weird because my daughter and her friends now, they don't care about cars. They'll call a Lyft or Uber or something. Just then they don't even want a car. Just don't care about it. So it's a weird watching who favors what with what they grow up with. But took him to Ford versus Ferrari, and I was like, let's go to the best presentation. Seems like this new 4DX must be it. I did not understand at the time that the 4DX theaters here are riding interactive seats, and my dad is 70 years old. So like 71 maybe at this point. I can't exactly remember when Ford versus Ferrari came out, but we rode that movie. We're in the seats and the wind's blowing out. It's like a Disney or Universal Studios ride and the seats tilting. I didn't know that's what was going to happen. And props to my dad for riding that Ford versus Ferrari with me. We actually raced a Ferrari. We were in a Monte Carlo Super Sport that he had, and we raced a Ferrari in real life, and we won for the first half. You know what I mean? It was awesome. I was a little kid, and we dusted that Ferrari off the line, and then I watched my favorite car's new taillights take off into the future. At about third gear, because Dad knew what was going to happen. He's like, "Watch this." So
That's
props
crazy.
to Dad. Yeah, man, it's just cool stuff. So maybe they'll get more of that experiential stuff, as well as the 3D. But I don't think resolution can go much further.
Yeah.
It can. They can totally present it, but I don't know that we'll notice.
Yeah, that's why it's like I watched like the preview for the new like Apple goggles, and it's like you can sit in your living room and make the TV screen as big as you want, but it's like, yeah, but you can't experience a movie with someone else. Like, I don't know. It's like I feel like I'd like to experience a movie like with like my wife or my brother or a friend or whoever. It's like, to me, it's like a group experience. You know, it's like
Totally.
now you're like, yeah, like sure, it's a cool thing to have, but like, I don't know. Like I was recently like having a conversation with family where they're like, "Do you think that's the future? You think that's the future?" I'm like, I don't know. I said we're like social beings, like, and I feel like it's not like, you know, it would be cool to see a movie on that really, but like, is that going to replace the TV? I don't think so. Like, I think people would still rather sit in a room together and watch something. Like,
The communal aspect of human nature is it's plugged into all of us. I mean, that's something we gather around the fire for that. So being in the room, there will be a natural element of disconnect if you're not able to, and they may cheat that in where if you tilt, it'll open up and you can see, you know, that may be part of the thought process going into the design.
definitely. I'm sure it is. I'm sure they've thought about that.
Yeah, but a lot of
That's
people
above
like
me.
this. I constantly make sure I rotate these things on my head so you don't end up with the cradle Watch your headsets, guys. You know, because you end up with the gamer dip in your skull.
Yeah.
So you know, a lot of people don't want to have to wear a thing. That's why Cameron's, you know, Jim, buddy. Just call him like he's a friend of mine. Yeah, that's why James Cameron's working on the technology that he is because he understands that. I think from the interviews that I've seen and what I've read from him is that he gets that you don't want to have to put that on. And also in different age groups, your focal length and things like that are going to be different. So dialing in that no glasses presentation, that way if you have glasses already, you know, that you just lost a person that doesn't want to have to stack double glasses. You know, it just makes it more open and more inclusive because people like James Cameron, like Tom Cruise, like me, like the rest of us making content, we want to bring people, an audience, to watch our thing. And if you're a filmmaker, you want them in the movie theater all together experiencing. So when you everybody jumps at once and you know, they got us there, you know, and that is a big experience. Or when the big debuts happening, man, the snapping, things like that, man, that if you were in a crowded theater when that shit went down, dude, you could feel people's heartbreak like right next to you. I'm sitting there like looking at my daughter and my wife, and we're all like, you know, everybody around, and you can feel that energy. That's that live performance from the screen, and that's what we all hope to be able to give the audience as the creators of this content. So you'd hope that they would all sit together, and if they don't, I'm not going to blame you if you're stuck at home and you're late at night and you're just watching this right before you go to bed. If that's how you get your content, that's awesome. I try to build it for a bigger thing for you, but you ingest your content on your time and how you do it.
Absolutely. Yep, I agree. And I'm everyone who listens to this podcast knows I'm always thumping for movie theaters and people going to the movies just because it is an experience and it is fun. And you know, like I used COVID as the training course because my kids were, I think during COVID, Frozen 2 was their first ever movie they saw in theaters.
Oh, okay.
So it was like good timing. Right. COVID was going on. We were pretty much in an empty theater for it. And it's like, all right, guys, we got to sit down. And it's like, we can't get up and run around or anything. We all got to sit in our seats here and everything. And it's like, it was a great training ground because now I can just take them to see stuff and they're like, they're in it. But you know, they like going, you know, it's like the movie theater is a special experience for them. They get excited. They want to get the popcorn. They like looking at all the movie posters of stuff that are coming out. Like, it's like
my daughter dressed up. We went to see the in Return to the Spider-Verse or whatever the title of the second Spider-Man film, the animated one was.
Oh yeah.
And she put on my old Spidey suit, decked out, and we went, and there's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles big giant display, and now they're starting to make some of that stuff. I didn't see that for a while. And there was the Barbie thing that was out that you could go actually get inside of. So there was a place you could pose with the turtles, and that was, you know, we pulled out the phone and we banged a couple of shots for that, and it was fun because you're there and you're in person. And then when you're in the theater, same thing. The music's going, everybody's excited. The animation is just top notch, just off the charts. If you guys haven't seen the Spider-Verse films, when the animation, man, go see that. The Seth Rogen Turtles stuff coming up looks fantastic. And these are animated. There's plenty of live action stuff. And I'm just going to say, Star Wars side, I love Andor. If anybody's listening, man, that's probably one of our favorite in the past however long. I'm not sure why a lot of people haven't. Maybe there's not enough, you know, lightsabers or blasters or something. But between that and Foundation, those are our favorite Star Wars right now. If you guys aren't watching Foundation and you like Star Wars, hey, bro, see the source content. Like, that's stuff that Lucas referenced, and it's being made now in that same kind of giant, big, epic. It's fantastic. If you like Lee Pace, if you like any of that Lord of the Rings stuff, man, I highly recommend. Before we kick up for Ahsoka, jump in and watch you some Foundation, man. If you like,
what's Foundation on? What service is that on?
Was it Apple TV?
Okay,
I believe. Yeah,
Foundation.
Something like that. Oh man, it's Lee Pace. It's in the second season, and it's all based off of just books by the same title, legend status. You're talking, Frank Herbert, Isaac Asimov, like the things and the foundational building blocks, which is part of what it is. The empire that the empire's kind of built on. This is the inspirational books that, some of these guys would have grown up with. So it's just this other big, epic, giant universe. What do you guys think about Rebel Moon while we're chatting Star Wars real quick? Since it's not, but it is, but it's not.
I think it looks awesome. I mean, all the shots I've seen of it, I think look sweet. I mean,
looks pretty good.
I wish it was a Star Wars movie.
I do
That's
too.
a
wish
Zack
it-
Snyder movie.
That's the Zack Snyder stuff
Yeah.
coming up on Netflix. Yeah, man.
The Star Wars film that almost was.
That is now like, yeah, and it's interesting that you're able to get so close with the laser swords and whatnot. But if it's safe, it's safe, and it looks awesome. And that's that kind of content, a story, world building. Yeah, I'd love to see a Mass Effect movie. There's a bunch of different outer space, legacy content that you could make. So if he's going to make his own version of Star Wars, more power to him. That's what we're making in between stuff. So
Yeah,
it looks awesome. If we had his budget, we'd be doing the same thing.
I know. And that's
If I
why
can't make
it's
it for you, Disney, I'll make it right alongside you. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, there's a lot of talent out there, and it's like I really do just hope a lot of these people do find their way into writing for that Star Wars IP and everything, because I mean that short film that you guys did was great. It was like the story made sense. Like I turned it on because I was like, all right, Rick Prince is in this. Like let me throw this on and watch it. And it's like when it ended, I was just like, oh shit, like let me go back and like see where Rick was in there again real quick, because I got lost in it. It felt like real Star Wars to me, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, this story makes sense to me. Like,
It reminded me a lot of, I don't know if you guys know about this or remember, but the Halo 3 commercials.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That-
like where's that movie?
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
that's exactly what it reminded me of. It because I got the same feeling watching that as I did seeing those commercials. I was like, this is kind of
Awesome,
like
man.
what I want to see in a movie. Like, give people
you hear that,
with
Adam?
these kind of ideas, give them a chance to make something.
it was character
That's the
understanding.
hope.
It made sense. Like it very much made sense.
Yeah, that's what I thought when I read the script, and then their ability to execute as a little small, the smallest small you can even think of. You have kids in the back in the garage. Like we shot that Darth Maul sequence in the garage at somewhere here north of town. I drove in makeup across town as Darth Maul. Hey, what's up?
God, I would have loved to have pulled up next
oh,
to
it's
you on
awesome.
that. That'd be
Anytime I have
great.
to get gas or something, I make sure to leave with not enough gas, so I have to stop. That kind of thing. I got to stop and get some milk on the way home. Just because you hate to, after all that, have to take it off. So you want to showcase it as much as you can so it doesn't go to waste. But it was just on a green screen with all the proper setup, just a cloth setup, and then all that post work that they did themselves made it very believable. And I mean, he's also he looks like Kylo, so he looks like Adam Driver anyway. Mr. Adam Pietropriole, but him and Cameron, you bring in the clone troopers, you bring in Nihilus, and you what? Wait a minute, how that's got our attention. So we're looking forward to it. The We Talk sequel today, it's already written. We're doing a little bit of adjustment. We're going to start having some table reads. I think we're talking about shooting around November. So if you guys in the universe, if you're anywhere near and to and around the Nashville, Tennessee area, and have some A-level costume that you might want to be able to bring in support and maybe be in a shot. I'd love to hear from you, just out of curiosity, and see if you happen to fit in the screenplay. We'll talk to Adam and see who all can work, who all can come and play on a play day, but we're going to be shooting it with real cameras. So
Absolutely. I mean,
trying
let
to
us
make a
know
real
when-
movie out of our little indie film,
Yeah. Let us know when you're getting close to shooting that, and I'll tell Joe to share from our Rule the Galaxy page, because I mean we have people, connection, like not like connections, but mutual followers from all over, and we definitely have some in Nashville, especially because of ICCC. So
yeah. So there's some scenes that it'd be great. Like all the lead positions, I think from what he said might be cast, but you're talking about filling out the universe. So all of the people, man,
Background and everything.
And even foreground people that you begin your shot with, that you pan from and on to your actual main character that you follow. But they're not just background shots for the characters that you might be. A lot of it is world filling, but depending on how it plays, and that's stuff just to hear from. And if you got something else, like, well, we hadn't thought about that. Let's go back and adjust the script a little bit so we can fold that into the mix.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's just having fun right now. And if we get a lot of response that doesn't quite fit into this one, then that opens up the door to making a new one. So
exactly.
Yeah, man, it's exciting stuff just to be able to do, because there are so many people making so much awesome stuff. There's a lot of talent out there.
Yep, that's the beauty of creating right there. It's great. So, I mean, as far as we hit a lot of stuff tonight, and I only had one bit of Star Wars news that broke right before the show.
Star Wars news time.
Yeah. This is Star Wars news break. The 30-second bit of news that happened was that, Alfie, do you want to say what it was? It has to do with the Lando show.
Yeah,
drop it
off the top of my head. That Donald Glover and is it his brother?
His brother. Yeah,
are now gonna write in. I don't think it said direct, but
maybe
I think,
some associate producing, co-producing something.
Give me just a second. I can.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear that, man. You're talking about another talented guy.
It was
multiple platforms. Donald Glover is super talented.
It was really odd the way that they dropped it too. It just says right Lando series at Disney Plus as
him and his brother
Justin Simeon exits, which is funny because that guy just put out a statement like this morning that, hey, Lando is still on and I wrote it and we're just waiting for everyone to be available. And then tonight he's out and the Glovers are in.
Times a changing. And that's curious to know that they're even able to make announcements. I guess you could, but that would have, I'd assume, be a deal that was already brokered prior to the strike.
That's what I was thinking.
The article I read kind of was hinting at that, and that he put out the statement this morning to just kind of drum up a little bit of interest.
Yeah, you got to keep news moving, I guess, while everything's kind of on pause, because there's still slates and films that have been completed that can come out, but you can't really, you can't have your actors promote that and stuff. So you wouldn't hear from maybe Donald. There's not going to be an interview or something with them for a while. Probably.
About future writing or anything.
Yeah, you're not going to hear from them directly until this stuff is resolved, I would think. But that's awesome news.
And we're just talking about writing now, so I mean that's still a ways away.
Speaking of Donald Glover, if you guys have some more interest in the Spider-Man universe, I'm not going to say any more about that. So spoiler, get in where you fit in. But that was some cool. I liked his movement through if you're not going to actually land a full feature somewhere along the lines, whether it's in the main MCU or whether it's in this other animated universe, it's cool to at least be part of it. And I think there's a lot of room for the Lando stories, man. I thought he was great as Lando. The Lando Tales, kind of where he's narrating to
the Calrissian Chronicles.
Yeah, the Calrissian Chronicles, man. That stuff is awesome. That would be a great season to watch.
He perfectly embodies the swagger and smoothness of Lando. When
I thought Solo was great. I like Solo. It just came out at a bad time, I think, because everybody was like, oh, more. It seemed to be the response, at least.
To me, it was more. Didn't really. It wasn't like any other Star Wars movie, and that's not a bad thing. I think it's just not. It's kind of a shock the first time you see it. I couldn't really get into it as much. Now, the second time, when I can kind of relax and say, hey, this isn't a big Rebels versus Empire. There's no Jedi, all that kind of stuff. I thought it was a great story. I thought it was a great, fun film.
There you go. Andor.
Yep.
That's kind of how I was. Solo is like Ocean's 11 Star Wars. Something. It's a heist movie kind of setup in its context. But Andor has some of the greatest lines, like monologue, speech stuff. Like, dude, I'm with it. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but as far as world building and cinema, bang.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. It's not my cup of tea. I say it all the time when we talk about Andor. Andor is amazing in 99 out of 100 categories, and to me, the one that it's just not entertaining to me.
Yeah, and that's just part of it, and that's why
just,
at least they've got
hey,
more content, so maybe they'll get one that.
And I'm not. That's not a knock on the show or anything.
No, it's the first one that got my wife to like Star Wars. Yeah. So it's, it depends on which audience and how you might hit. Right. And I was super grateful for that, because it's a hard sell most of the time out here.
I know what you mean. I have my wife watching it too, actually. And like our schedule got screwed up. She watched like the first half of it because I was like, she's like wondering about these characters right now. Like, she's not watched any Mandalorian at all, but for some reason she was watching Andor. And I'm like, this is like an in for Star Wars. It's like we watch all these shows together. Maybe we could watch a Star Wars show together. So I think I'm going to go back to it and finish the show with her pretty soon.
I would recommend it. And if not your thing, let me know, Alfie, what you think. Try on an episode or two of Foundation and see what you think about that. I got it queued up,
and I'll let you know what I think. And I've tried to go back and watch Andor, and I just can respect all of its greatness, everything that it's great at. But
what about this? Do you like the new Dune, or does it hit on the same level? Because kind of the same. Me, I'm like, woo, fucking get it. Oh, yeah. So it depends on your flavor, man. That's just I love it, man.
I think too much about stuff, and the first thing that hit me in Dune, I'm like, oh my God, you just said 30 seconds ago that you built your entire empire off of having an Air Force and a Navy, and it all just got destroyed. You didn't have any lookouts. You're totally unprepared, which I get it. It's a movie. I saw it back in the 80s too, so I knew what was going to happen, but still.
Yeah, and it's a lot of novels all consolidated into. So it's a lot to process, and there's going to have some of that with Foundation, but Foundation does a really good job at interpreting the source material, and I think will make you probably a lot more happy than Andor did as far as hitting some extra marks. But I'd be curious though, because as a filmmaker, I try to make a thing that I think is cool, because I can't guess at what you're gonna like.
Right.
And so knowing that is like, that's interesting, because you just have a different take. And I've heard that from a lot of people, and my wife and I are like, they don't like this. Man, this is so good, but that's okay. It's the same thing with the sequels. It's the same thing with the prequels.
Right.
Was it your speed, your flavor? What did you or don't you? I like pretty much all Star Wars, or at least there's something about all Star Wars to like. So I love the crystal foxes in the sequel trilogy. I love the planet with the white surface with the red underneath. Visually, there are a bunch of things that I like.
Red velvet planet.
Story, not so much. You know what I mean? But visually, that's part of what I like about both Andor and Dune, is I feel like I'm at the movies, man. I'm on another planet. It's big. It's expansive. They did a great job in the volume, but it's different when you're out there in it, and you can feel that in the seat. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's why when I saw,
if you like it, if not, cool breeze, brother. I'm not gonna judge. It's awesome.
I like all those things, and those are all things that I like about Andor. To me, I think it needs like 10% of the Mandalorian's fun, but I understand that would take away from what Andor is trying to do. So it doesn't need that.
Curious to see how season 2 gets into the mix, and see if it may have a little more of your considerations.
I hope not, because as much as for what I dislike it, I like it for being bold enough to be that way. Does that make sense?
Most certainly. I appreciate that point of view. Yeah, I'm not looking for fan service, but I know that the intensity of what's going on is going to ratchet up. And you got people to still meet, like K2SO.
I can't wait for that.
Dude, that's one of my favorite. We talked about droids a little bit somewhere along the line, but that's one of my favorite droids, period. I love one. R2. R2's the man, but man, just the sass from that dude, man. Alan Tudyk is such a great actor too. So just that's another thing, just being able to bring that character to life when they totally take everything but your voice and your movement out of it.
Yep.
And then props to the whole digital team that made it believable. Like that's such a joy to watch be well executed.
Yep, he's one of those dudes where you go on his IMDb and you're just like, wait, what? You did this too? You did that? Like it's crazy. And
Firefly, baby.
Yeah. I just took I wouldn't say I just took, but for the re-release of Rogue One before Andor came out, I took my little guy who's 6 years old. I took him to see Rogue One as his first Star Wars movie in theaters, because he missed the sequel trilogy, the sequels coming out. And I'm like, Rogue One is re-releasing in IMAX. I was like, I'm like, let's go, dude. You're going to go see your first Star Wars movie in theaters.
How old was he?
He's 5.
Okay.
So
right
I was like, he might've been 6. I think he was 6 when we saw it. He's a very smart kid though. A lot smarter than I was when I was 6. So we started the movie and it's like, it kind of settled in on me. Like, I'm like, I really wasn't thinking like storyline wise. I was just very excited to be like, I can take my son to go see a Star Wars movie in the theaters. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, I might have some explaining to do after this movie because there's a lot of bad things that happen at the end of it. But
I was like, yeah, hallway scene is going to affect that kid. Let's go.
Exactly.
The beginning of the movie is harsh enough.
Hey, there's a lot. Rogue One is another fantastic film that I felt just, man, what did you think about that one, Alfie? Did that one?
I really liked that one. Again, we were brought up on the trilogy. So there is a certain pacing to a Star Wars movie that you're used to. Rogue One was, to me, was real shocking in the first half of the film because it was so fast. I felt like jumping from all these storylines, but by that second half, first viewing really, was just amazing. I think that movie gets better every time I watch it.
Yep.
And it is a really shocking opening too, with the mother getting killed and then Cassian gunsmoke somebody from behind. That's like the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. Welcome to the universe, kid.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You awesome. Get that sense of these are the real rebels, the C&D teams that we never really see that are out there doing the
and presented
shady
some fantastic character arcs. Watching Saul Guerrero was probably one of my favorite. Ooh, man, get it, Forrest Whitaker coming in strong on that performance. I love
seeing
that.
Rogue One in the theater was an actual experience because we went and saw it at the 6:00 showing is the new midnight premiere now. Okay. So, thinking coming off of The Force Awakens, Star Wars is like super popular again. We go to see Rogue One, 6:00, and it is like this mix of young kids and then, your kind of typical Star Wars crowd. And it was kind of rowdy, you would say. And they, there was a lot of shushing and, because the kids were very excited for cameos, especially my son was like, the Juggernaut he picked up on, he saw C-3PO and R2. I don't know. It's real quick, but you can see C-3PO and R2-D2 the first time that they go to the base, and he picked that up. And this guy turned around and shushed them, and I was like, oh, hey. And then, Darth Vader came on the screen, and there was a little league team behind us.
Mm-hmm.
Of 8-year-old kids, and they were jumping up and down, screaming, oh my God, it's Darth Vader.
Yeah.
I was like, what? I was like yelling, not yelling, but I was like, hey, why don't you shush them?
Yeah.
And then by the time the end happened, forget about it. It was so loud, and it was like seeing Star Wars when I was a little kid. I mean, it was something else.
And that's the experience that you get. And it's not for everybody, and I get that. So go to that midnight show. You know what I mean? But if you want that engagement and you want to know that people are affected by this film, have the kids in there. Hopefully you have some decent parents, like you've trained yours pretty well, it seems like, but not everybody's like that. But you should feel their positive energy at least,
Right.
unless they're up there just kicking the back of your seat. You know,
Exactly.
they're
Yeah.
excited by the thing that you should be excited about. Just be excited, you know. So screw that guy, or he should do better. Bless his heart, from the South, like whatever. But you know, just everybody can be a little more gracious to each other, and especially in that movie going experience, man. Mind your P's and Q's. Watch the opening little crawl that says turn off your phone and be quiet. But
Let Nicole Kidman soothe you with her beautiful voice.
yes,
And,
she's a local here. Yeah, man. And just have a good time with everybody and laugh when things are to be laughed, cry when you want to cry, like she's, you know, all that stuff, man.
yeah, that's what it's all about. I mean, that's like,
It's at least you got the response. Rogue One hit some buttons and got the kids. Get it? That's
Yeah.
because it's not normally thought of as a kids
yeah,
version
No,
of
no,
Star
no, that
Wars.
was that's
Yeah,
a
I
very
know.
war movie.
Yeah,
that's
man.
what, when we were leaving though, it was like, me and him, we walked out and I was like, what'd you think about it? And he was like, they all had to sacrifice themselves to save everyone. And I was just like, oh my God. I'm like,
Got it.
tear in my eye right
My
there. I'm
man.
like,
Yeah,
let's go.
that's what's up. And what an impact at an early age to understand that is what happened, especially like, because I know he would have probably identified with K2SO.
Yeah.
And that's just tragic, man. That's tough on me.
Yeah, I hate that
because
scene,
it's
man.
so
It
well
gets
done.
ya.
But that's what you need. As a director, I know that even in Beasts of the Water, Rashad's film, there was a death scene that for a time they decided to bust this dude in the forehead instead of his gut shot. And as the writer and producer, I try to explain that's going to take away his death scene. Because he gets this like, oh, I talk with you. Oh, what's up? I'm gonna say this thing, and so that's the moment that you get to care about people because they're going through that emotional experience, and that's what we react to is the other humans generally, or the thing that taps into our emotion, even if it's a robot. It's that experience that we got to know that creature, that being, that entity, and then that time was fleeting.
Yeah.
And then if you make too short work of it, the impact is lost. So it's awesome to know that they had their finger on the pulse of how long to hit the 6-year-old as well as the almost 50-year-olds, you know what I'm saying? Or the whole gamut. But brilliant filmmaking, man. I hope to be a small part of that. You know, we're doing the best we can on the indie level, and some of the networking is leading us to other things, but can't talk about any of that stuff. But keep following along, man. We love the Rule the Galaxy podcast, man. This is a good thing that we managed to link up in person at the ICCC. Hope to see you all at the next one that we have. But yeah, man, just being able to find common interest in that galaxy far, far away is just, I always have fun with that. So
Absolutely.
I appreciate you guys.
I love it. I love it. Well, Alfie, do you have any final thoughts for this episode as we're wrapping things up here?
My mind's kind of blank right now, but yeah, like he said, be good to see you again at ICCC, and I'm looking forward to seeing the sequel. I really enjoyed this short film, and it was really good. You did a lot of great work, and I hope to see the next installment.
Awesome.
Hopefully it's good enough that there'll be a third one.
I hope so. It's something that we're just doing for fun. And he's doing out of his own pockets and putting the resources together. And some of us on the upper deck, just uphill a little bit, see that rising talent. And so we're reaching down to help out with some of our athletes, just trying to lend a hand, and, you know, bring somebody that's just trying really hard to do something awesome up to where they can do it at a bigger, better level. And we're having a great time with it. Either way, it's all for fun. Check it out. Journey to the Dark Side. Adam Pietropioli, and a great team of people just making this film. Watch it. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think, good or bad. The track is awesome either way, and it helps us make a better film next time. So.
I'm going to show it to my son here shortly because Kylo Ren is his favorite character. So
awesome. Yeah, this
I'm
happens.
You will like it
in the movie. If you cut when the door closes, that's where the scene picks up, and then when the door opens again, that's where that scene ended. So it would play in an edit. So yeah, man, I'd love to hear what you guys think. If we don't talk to you before the next in person, let us know. But I'd love to, get Adam on with you guys sometime, get Tim or some of the other people on, let them talk about their things, because these guys are just a lot of fun, super professional, and very talented, man. Love to introduce you guys.
Yeah, definitely. That's great. We would love to talk to them too. I mean, it's great. I love it. So, Rick, as far as everything goes for you, as we're wrapping up, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you on like social media, everything like that? Any final thoughts you have as well as we're wrapping up?
Yeah, man. Everybody, if you're interested in anything, special effects or monster movie oriented, the things like I do or any of my friends, check me out on all the social medias. I've been fortunate enough, thanks to my mate down in Australia, the other Rick Prince. He gave me the Rick Prince by myself, just the name, RickPrince on Instagram. You can check me out there, and that links to pretty much everywhere else on Twitter and on TikTok, everywhere else. I kind of use Instagram as the main, but also on IMDb if you want to check out any of our movies, or on Amazon, Hulu. You can go to I think YouTube and watch Beast of the Water. Gravitas, the distributor, has it available there. If you want to pay money, pay money. If you don't have the money to pay, watch it for free. Tell us what you think. Engage in the comments. We'd love to hear. Like I said, it makes us able to please our audience a little better where we can, and either way it helps us learn and do our best job to make a better film next time. And that, just go click on the link. If you're checking out my socials, follow that link to YouTube and check out Adam's short film. It's free. Nobody's making any money. It's just for fun. And let us know what you think, man. Give that kid some likes, some follows.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm subscribing to him, so I'm already locking in. I mean, he's hit it out of the park for his initial one. So I'm looking forward to the sequel. So, Rick, it's great having you on. I remember the last time we had you on, it was just very similar tonight. We just chopped it up. We talked about all this stuff in the film industry, and it's just cool to hear. It's just cool to hear it from you and just hear the stuff you're working on. And this is the best part about our podcast, is it's like, you're an Andor guy, Alfie's not an Andor guy, but we can talk about it and just be totally cool about it.
Totally.
We're always cool about it. Like, that's, I mean, while Andor was going on, it was like we would talk about what we liked, maybe what some guys didn't like, and it was like, it's fine. Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah.
We all get
If you guys watch people like Star Wars Theory or, things like that, like, you'll hear different opinions and flavors of who likes what, and, it's awesome. To me, it's a big enough universe, and I hope to be able to deliver a portion of content that may not be for everybody, but it's my favorite part of Star Wars. You know what I mean?
So, I have a feeling in the future. I mean, you just need to remember us, when that leap happens into Lucasfilm and everything, you just need to remember Rule the Galaxy podcast. All right. So
brother. Yeah, we go, man. Let's do it.
I love it. Well, from D-Doc, from Alfie, from Brent, who had to leave earlier, school season is on, and from Rick Prince, we appreciate you guys listening to Rule the Galaxy podcast. Until next time, may the Force be with you.